Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast focused on TV and film. This week, our main topic revolves around TV franchises and which ones have stuck with us over the years. It's the era of the TV franchise. We also have reviews of Gran Turismo, Bottoms, and the Last Voyage of the Demeter, and much more. Let's get on with the show. My name is Aaron Peterson. Joining me today are my fellow host, John Davenport.
Hey, buddy. How you doing today?
Good. Troy Heinrichs.
I'm glad we aren't a franchise.
And Amanda Sig is not here. She did not join the expansion show, apparently.
Are you sure we're not a franchise? Because aren't there a whole bunch of other shows that are outsider related?
Yeah, I think we are a franchise.
I think that's going to be the topic for this week. What consists of a franchise versus spinoffs? Because Amanda's off doing a spinoff. That's why she's not here.
Yeah, sure. She'll be back. She'll be back.
Okay.
Allegedly. Remember, you can always find more information at thehollywoodoutsiders.com, and you can join our Facebook group. We're on X at Buy Popcorn.
Has the name changed, or is it just the logo that's changed?
I don't know, man.
It's the name has changed because the emails that I'm getting from Twitter are now like X, formerly Twitter.
They don't call them tweets anymore. It's posts.
Right.
Well, because tweets makes only sense if you are a bird, but you are not anymore.
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm just trying to find the threads on all of the conversations.
Yeah, we're talking primarily about franchises.
Hold on,
today.
shut up.
What?
Hold on.
What?
You did not even hear what he just did?
No, I didn't hear.
You did?
I was jumping on the format. I was getting things going. I was kicking it off. What did I miss? Please fill me in.
He just sat there and said, what was it? The threads of the conversation? You son of a bitch.
He dad joked his way through it.
He dad joked his way through it, and you did not catch it?
Or maybe I just didn't acknowledge it.
No, you didn't catch it.
No,
as soon as,
let's just say I didn't acknowledge it because I wanted to move on. I had things to do.
Just like most people haven't acknowledged threads either.
It's fair.
All right.
It's fair. Seriously. We could talk about that every week. What a ghost town that freaking site is. When's Blue Sky go public? Isn't that another one that's coming out? It's like created by Jack Dorsey?
We do not need social media. Just don't need it.
But you guys don't use it.
It's not that I don't use it. It's that it's filled with either people's opinions that are wrong, people's opinions that may be right, people's opinions and people's opinions and people's opinions and people's opinions. I don't need people's opinions. I just wanted the news. That's why I started Twitter in the first place, was to follow like CNN, New York Times, AP, and get all my news consolidated in one place because the RSS feed was dying.
No Newsmax?
Well, yeah, no Newsmax. But now you can get all the news's opinion from all those different things.
I know. And I even have Apple News Plus, which I don't even use because it's just opinion. Can someone just tell me facts, please?
Is it wild that we're still doing entertainment, TV and movie podcasts while TVs and movies are like not being talked about? Deadline is literally dead.
Well, I was wondering.
Damn it, I'm going to go home if we keep this shit up.
I was wondering if we were crossing some kind of line by continuing the podcast, actually. Like, will we ever get like blacklisted
we're
from
not
working
on a
in
goddamn
Hollywood?
union? Nope, we're not crossing any line unless they start, filling our coffers. I don't think so.
But if you're a non-union actor and you cross the line to work somewhere, they'll remember that you crossed, and then you'll have a hard time getting jobs later or getting into the union.
Nobody's crossed the line to talk to us. They wouldn't.
Yeah, number one, no one's crossed the line to talk to us. Number two, they don't give a shit about us.
Hey, there's like one, maybe.
We're promoting their work for them because they can't.
Frodo was a fan back in the day. True story. It's weird though, isn't it? Isn't it weird how they're so desperate for like everything that they can find is news now because all those entertainment sites that are based on clicks can't get people to click anymore.
Yeah, apparently one guy on the credit causes news to happen.
I know. It's wild. Listen to our episode last week if you want more details on that one. It's pretty wild. And yeah, we are a franchise. We do have Remake This Movie Right and Presenting Hitchcock and Beyond Westworld and The Blacklist Exposed and like all this other stuff. So Bad Movie Night, the public edition, which is old episodes from Patreon. So there's that too. Like we're a franchise.
Yeah, that bad movie night's like Me TV. You can go back and listen to all your classics.
Me TV. People keep saying we should bring back Remake This Movie Right. What do you think to that, John? Troy and I have actually had conversations about it.
I'm down.
Yeah? Did you enjoy that one?
I enjoyed that one a lot.
Because it was creative?
Yeah, I like the creative aspect of it. I like the great conversations that came from it. And I think we had a great fan reaction to it, even, well, maybe not when it was happening, but post Remake This Movie Right, it seems like a lot of people are clamoring for it. So, like, why won't we give the fans what they want? Oh, because the fans are always wrong. That's what Marvel taught us.
And DC.
And DC.
Martha!
I wonder if they would like it with or without the trailer at the end.
That's my big question. If without the trailer, I would be much more inclined to do it, but the trailer was also a big fun part of it. What do you think? Or maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe people really didn't care about the trailer that much. They just liked the conversation.
I liked coming up with the ideas.
Yeah, no, the trailer was a great way to show the idea coming to fruition. So I think the trailer was just as important to it as the whole show was.
Well, I want to hear from people listening. If you remember Remake This Movie Right, it's a few years old, but we've thought about coming back to it since there's a little bit more free time these days, and that seemed to be one that we all enjoyed a little bit more than just doing, TV focused and da-da-da-da. It wouldn't take the place of this one. Just be something else that we did like twice a month.
The good news is that we are a media empire and have our own streaming service, so you could go back and find Remake This Movie Right
Media
and
empire.
Actually just subscribe right now.
Right.
Empire is the biggest stretch that word has ever seen.
I know sometimes under Aaron it feels like a galactic chokehold, but
oh boy. All right, well, let's get into our topic. This week we want to talk about franchise TV because we haven't really dove into this as much as we would like to. So we're in the era of franchise TV. And I want to know, Troy, where do you think the idea of franchise television all began? CSI, Law and Order, where do you think it began? I've got my example. I'm curious.
I think it's actually way earlier than that. The one that I would first remember as being like alive for would be like the Happy Days franchise.
That's a good point.
Yep. Happy Days, which built out Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley, Joni Loves Chachi. There were two other ones that nobody talks about. That one definitely spun off a lot of shows. But I think even before that was I Love Lucy, because I Love Lucy turned into The Lucy Show, and then Here's Lucy, and then eventually Life with Lucy after Desi Arnaz died. So I think that was actually probably the first time you've seen like a character span more than the original property and build an empire out of it. And Desilu Productions, which is actually, we talked about that a few episodes ago about how they purchased the rights to their own film because they shot it on film rather than telescope or whatever it was they used in New York. And because of that, they actually made Desilu Studios. And so when Desilu finally went under and they sold it, they actually sold it to Paramount. And Desilu was the first studio that actually greenlit Star Trek. So that's why Star Trek is at Paramount. Is because Desilu sold to Paramount.
Does that make it Star Trek as part of the Lucy franchise?
Maybe.
Why do you have to test him like that?
I'm just saying.
Because he will.
He'll find a way.
I'm sure they'll go to some planet where Lucille Ball still lives.
And between those two, I mean, I was waiting for Happy Days. I thought because if anybody, you would come up with that one. But also All in the Family. All in the Family is a franchise. They had Maude, Good Times, The Jeffersons, Archie Bunker's Place, and there I think a few others too. So All in the Family. There were actually a lot of franchise television shows that people don't realize were franchise television shows.
But this comes to the question I led up with at the front end. Like, what is the difference between a franchise and a spin-off? Is it the same thing?
I think spin-off would count as part of a franchise. I think we all agree on that.
I mean, that's the whole point of a franchise, right? Is to sit there and create a shared world, or at least a hint of a shared world in which everything lives in, right?
Yeah. I would say so.
Like Magnum P.I. and Hawaii Five-0.
Now, does that count? Because, I mean, they jump on each other's shows, but they're not really connected outside of each other. Tricky question, if you think about it.
It's a tricky question. Magnum P.I. and Murder, She Wrote. That's another one.
Yeah, but they weren't connected. They just jumped on it. That's one of those things where they were on the same network and same producers, so they just hopped on each other's shows for ratings. I don't know if
crossover events are different than like
a
character from show A went to show B and therefore character from show B could still show back up on show A.
Now, if Angela Lansbury was actually piloting the chopper, that would be for sure.
That would be amazing.
I would watch the shit out of it. I would watch that every week.
Right.
Get the chopper, Magnum. Let me touch your mustache. What? Why'd you make it weird, Angela?
Oh, sure. Angela would be the one to make it weird.
Of course you would.
Can you get out of that chopper and run back over here again so that I can watch you run in those tiny shorts, Magnum?
All right. What was the first brand that you followed on TV that jumped around to different forms? Like the first one that you can think of.
For me, the very first one I could think of had to be Star Trek. That's the first one where I'm jumping around to every single form that comes out. You know, as a kid, it was the original Star Trek. I can remember eating a whole pizza all by myself on a Friday night, watching Star Trek and being absolutely happy about it when I was a wee tyke. And then when we came to the States, it was Star Trek Next Generation. And as time moved on, I enjoyed sticking with, or not really sticking with, but picking up every now and again the other iterations of Star Trek that came out along the way.
What are all of them? Do you guys remember all of them? Can either one of you name all of the Star Trek iterations?
Go ahead, Troy.
All of the Star Trek?
Yeah, can you name them all?
Gosh. There was the original series, there was the cartoon, there was TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and then we jumped to Discovery, and then Strange New Worlds, and then Picard rebooted, and then Lower Decks, and then there's the one with Captain Janeway that's like the one that's like started but not going to continue, and I can't remember what it's called. Prodigy, I think it is. And then, of course, there's the 10 movies that happened, you know, the 6 originals with Kirk, and then there was the 4 with Picard, and then there were the 2 movies with Keith Urban and Christopher Pine.
Wow.
The 3 movies.
3 movies. Yeah, there were 3.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg wrote one of them.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
I think that's most of Star Trek.
That's a lot of Star Trek.
From a show that never should have happened because they filmed the original pilot, and then they didn't like the first pilot, so they filmed a second pilot, and neither of those pilots were ever the first show of the original series. They aired later in the seasons, but the first episode wasn't actually one of the pilots.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Fun fact. Okay, what about you, Trey? What was the first brand that you followed on TV?
It was probably Happy Days. Number one, I grew up in Milwaukee, so anything having to do with Milwaukee was interesting. So you got Laverne and Shirley is clearly, you know, got the Milwaukee beer opening in the credits with the Allen Barley Clock Tower. So I think Happy Days was the first one where I got like really involved in like following the characters from show to show. You know, Star Trek was obviously a big one. Once I started watching TNG in the 80s, I went back and watched the original series to understand it, to get ready for the crossover movie that happened, obviously in Generations. And I think, and we were watching the original Star Trek movies through the 80s at the time. So we're trying to understand as a kid, like, why isn't Picard on these movies? Like, it didn't make sense. And then someone said, oh, it's because it's the original Star Trek. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And so we went back and watched the original Star Trek.
That's wild. Is there any other show that's done that? I think X-Files did that because they had movies, right? They went TV, then movies, then back to TV.
And back to movie, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. Is there anything
else?
And
then back to TV again, unfortunately.
Is there anything else, though, that you can think of?
Like between movie and show?
Yeah, like went TV, then jumped to movies, then came back to TV.
I'm surprised Grey's Anatomy hasn't yet.
I mean, well, that's a franchise, right? They have Private Practice or something like that.
Private Practice,
yeah.
Station.
Just funny. I guess Luther did that. Luther went to movie on Netflix. Hasn't gone back yet. I'm waiting for Sherlock to have a movie, like the actual Cumberbatch version.
I mean, I guess BSG was a made-for-TV movie, went to TV series, then went to web episode, which then became consolidated into a TV movie.
The Cumberbatch version did have a movie.
Like a movie?
Yeah, it did have a movie.
Sure, it wasn't just a long episode.
No, it was a movie. Well, they're all long episodes.
Yeah, they're all long episodes. They're all movie.
But this was a movie where I saw it in a theater. But it was one of those fandom special events. But yeah,
I think it was just an episode that they showed at the movie. I don't know if I'd count that, but I get what you're saying. I mean, it's in a theater, so it's got to count, I guess. Right? Yes? Maybe?
Yeah, you saw it in a theater.
I would say so.
Mine would probably, like, All in the Family, I think is mine. I remember watching All in the Family. I loved Good Times and The Jeffersons. Maude was an interesting show. I didn't dislike it. Yeah, and then probably Cheers to Frasier, Cosby to a Different World. I probably, there's probably several of them that I watched throughout the years that I didn't realize were franchises at the time. I'm just like following characters from point A to point B.
Do they have to go from TV to movie back to TV, or just TV to movie?
Oh, I was just curious. Like if
I mean, because you got 21 Jump Street comes to mind.
Yeah, but
then
that's different
18
though.
comes to
different.
mind.
No, those are
cast.
different. Those
That's
are
a
reboots.
reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's an
Addams Family.
Downton Abbey, Deadwood, Entourage did a movie. Veronica Mars, Sex and the City, Firefly, and X-Files.
Oh, here we go.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Interesting. That's a whole other topic right there. What is the peak of franchise TV? As in, this is the best.
Beavis and Butthead. Don't forget about Beavis and Butthead.
Stop it. We should.
Hey, it's the same cast.
Isn't it back now? Didn't they just come out with like another movie on Paramount Plus?
We came back on streaming. Yeah.
It came back with a whole new show.
So what's the peak? What's the peak of franchise TV? As in, this is the best it's ever been done because each take is great television, or at least most of them.
For me, it's going to be a strange thing that Aaron will not agree to, but because it has to do with animation. But the Batman the Animated Series is a great example of what a franchise television show is, because you start with Batman the Animated Series, then you move into the new Superman cartoon that came shortly after it. That led into Justice League, the two different Justice League cartoons that came in after, which are still continuing the same story, and all of them combined turn into this great bit of storytelling that that at no point do you feel like you're watching a kid's show. It really has some strong elements to it of storytelling. Batman starts with this great gritty feel that came with the Tim Burton Batman movies. So to me, I think the Batman the Animated Series is a good example as far as a franchise that started something great.
Why'd you throw my name into that?
Because you hate cartoons.
I don't hate that. Scooby-Doo's a franchise, and they rock the world.
You have said many times, anytime a cartoon, with the exception of Scooby-Doo, because you have a crush on Daphne.
It has nothing to do with Daphne. I love Scooby-Doo, but go ahead.
You love the dog more than the chick?
Yeah, way more.
Yeah. Hi, Aaron.
See? I'm going to need a minute.
Anyhow, those of us who listen to this show long enough have known that Aaron will poo-poo cartoons left, right, and center, with the exception of Scooby-Doo.
Poo-poo them. They're not for me. That's not poo-pooing something if I say I don't enjoy them.
I'm sorry, Troy, can I get a second opinion?
He doesn't
on
like
this?
cartoons.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? I do like some Pixar. Pixar actually is the one that really gets it most of the time. And I want to see the Super Mario movie.
Those are computer generated 3D
stop
films.
It, Troy. No, stop it, Troy. You're
They're
wrong.
not cartoons.
Okay, then I don't like cartoons. I just want to watch computer animated 3D whatever.
See what you did?
That's what I want to watch.
Just saying.
Sounds great.
He's not sitting down in 1980 with a bowl of cereal and watching Transformers and Mask and G.I. Joe like we did, John.
I did then. Then I did.
Oh, let's not forget Silverhawks.
Well, then you like cartoons.
He didn't even know Silverhawks was a thing.
I liked cartoons.
That's true.
I did not ever hear of Silverhawks. I don't know what the hell that is. I watched that stupid trailer, or like the opening or whatever, which is trying to be Thundercats, and it's more like, this sucks. So,
it's done by the same company that did Thundercats.
Well, did they run out of color? Because all it is just silver. The whole show is just monotone, blah.
Silver is the first word in
I get it, but there's nothing in it that has any color. Like the whole freaking opening is just the blandest color scheme I've ever seen of a cartoon.
The bad guys have all the color.
That's stupid. Why? That's dumb. Like good guys don't need color in their life. Like
No,
they don't need a
because good guys
fashionable
wear
pink
white.
or a mauve or something.
Art.
Right.
That's not
They're
art.
trying-
It's absence of color is what it is.
And to do that in an animated series on television is a challenging thing to do. And they pulled it off because you can actually see tone and differences in color.
That's right.
In the different versions of Silver.
That's right.
Is Ray Charles designing the color scheme for these things? That's the only.
You really wanted that joke to land,
That's a
didn't
low
you?
blow. That's a low blow.
That's a low bro.
That's a low, bro.
That's a
That's a
low
low bro.
That's low, bro.
Oh,
Hey, bro. Hey, bro.
Hey, bro.
That's low.
Hey, bro.
That's pretty low.
Well, I watched Silverhawks just out of respect for you, and I don't understand the appeal of that at all. Not that I didn't watch the whole episode. I just watched the opening. I don't want to confuse anybody. But I gave the opening a chance, and I'm just like, The theme song sucks. The color scheme sucks. This wouldn't have appealed to me as a kid. That's probably why I don't know it.
I mean, peak franchise TV, I'm sure, was done in the 80s and 90s.
I don't know. Well, maybe
even this, but I mean, nobody knows what franchise TV is when you talk about Happy Days and Lucille Ball and that kind of stuff. You're just talking about like make more content of the same content because we only have 3 channels and we need people to keep watching the stuff that we like to watch.
These characters, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it really comes into focus when you start talking about, Law and Order and that franchise and how they spun that off. And then people completely forget about the Ally McBeal universe because they're like, Ally McBeal did what? And they're like, yeah, Ally McBeal spun off The Practice. The Practice included Alan Shore in the last season of The Practice, which then spun off Boston Legal.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's there.
And you also got Perfect Strangers that spun off Family Matters. So you get like, there's all these spin-offs that you're like, are they technically franchises or are they not really franchises?
They're franchise. Anything that's more than one that spins off, that's a franchise. That's franchise TV. I mean, I think nowadays it's more popular because you've got Arrowverse, you've got the Witcher series that's spinning off. Stranger Things, they're going to spin off eventually.
Game of Thrones with House of Dragon.
Game of Thrones. Breaking Bad has become a franchise. I mean, because there's different stuff there. All of The Walking Dead is a huge franchise. I mean, that's all AMC is anymore, is the Walking Dead franchise. So, I mean, there's a lot of them out there.
But see, the difference is that Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Witcher, it's all the same thing, right?
Where not necessarily. It's different characters. No. I mean, different characters. Walking Dead, like, they're all over the place. So it's not just the same. Same concept, basically. Same backdrop.
Yeah.
So you can say Ally McBeal counts because it's all about lawyers.
I would say it counts if they spun off characters, for sure.
I don't know why you're getting so defensive. Calm down.
I'm just trying to really define like universe where it's like Marvel and DC have a built-in thing where there's like it's purposely connected to start with versus we took this one character and made something new, but it wasn't really planned to begin with.
It doesn't have to be planned.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be planned, but isn't that what we've come to enjoy, or not enjoy, come to see now, is where they're planning to create these new worlds with whole these huge expansive worlds with all these characters to be like, all right, we're gonna have this character show up here, and then now we're gonna take this character over here and create it something different to tell more stories because everyone likes this whole thing where monsters are eating each other. Let's do it over here too, just so we can keep people eating each other.
That's a franchise? People eating each other? What?
Yeah, I mean, you might want to call it The Walking Dead, but I mean...
Okay.
It was a franchise that sponsored people eating each other, and then they pulled their stuff after the commercial aired right after people ate each other.
I'm sorry? I don't know.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. There was a scene where the zombies were basically ripping somebody apart, and then Kentucky Fried Chicken's ad aired like immediately after that scene, and then Kentucky Fried Chicken pulled their spots.
Where they had zombies in their ad?
No, it was the show. Like the show was literally showing people like
the
zombies eating somebody.
Eating somebody, and then you'd go to
and
the
then
next
the
scene.
ad aired immediately after that.
And so they were upset because people were associating the zombies eating something to people eating chicken, which means no chicken was being sold.
Correct.
What?
See, John followed me on that thread. You follow me on the Nicolas Cage thread. It's all depending on how people are listening.
Yeah, I feel terrible at the moment.
You should. 2 weeks in a row, somebody understood what Troy said. Whatever.
It wasn't the same person.
I mean, yeah. Okay, that's
the improv classes are paying off. More people understand me now.
Yeah, tell people what you're doing. By the way, sidebar. So, Troy, you're taking improv classes?
Yeah.
And I'm really serious. And I please don't take offense.
Well, wait. Can you say that without laughing?
No, not really.
Yeah, because when you go,
I'm totally not offended by this at all.
Yeah, look, I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything, but okay.
Can you do improv if you can't let a person finish their sentence? Is that something that's doable?
Totally doable.
Wow.
I'm just saying. Don't you have to? Isn't it like a reaction to whatever that came before it?
Sometimes you're actually jumping in and you're actually going to the head of the story rather than the part of the story where somebody came in the first place.
What made you decide to take an improv class? I'm curious. Do you want to be a
My
comedian?
wife wanted to do it as something because she's on a journey this year of like doing new things, and she's like, I'm gonna do this improv class. It's like, I could do it with you. I got all this free time now that Blacklist is done. She's like, that'd be fun. And it's like, okay, so we're doing that instead of doing the Blacklist.
And So which one is the better trade-off? Would you rather be doing Blacklist or the improv class?
The improv class is awesome. It's so much fun.
Tell me,
you get to be silly for an hour and a half on a Tuesday night.
Give us an example of what this is like.
Like we did, what was it called? It's a game called Mr. Know-It-All, and you have to tell a one-word story.
Just call it the Troy game.
A one-word story based on a topic that's given from the audience. So in this case, it was like, hey, Mr. Know-It-All, tell me everything you know about electricity. Mm-hmm. And you're all standing in a line, and you have to, everybody says one word of the story as you go down the line. So, of course, the story started out with Albert. The next person said Einstein. And then my word was time, expecting the next person to say traveled back to Ben Franklin.
But did they do that?
No, because the other two people are like, we're not.
Because it's improv. That means they could do whatever they want. They don't have to do what you want.
But you have to like somehow make it entertaining for the audience. So you have to just listen to what the people are saying on the end because it's going to come back around to you. And you have to come up with something in the moment when you're on the spot.
I like this.
It fits.
That should be a hoe game. Hoe it all.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to the topic. Sorry. Sidebar. All right.
It's
fun. I honestly think what I would say is the peak of franchise TV is Law and Order. Surprisingly, it's
still going.
It's still going, and I'll be honest. I mean, that's drop the remote TV right there. If I'm flipping through and I can't figure out anything I want to watch, and I see Law and Order's on, which it usually is, I will put it on. It's like my perfect background noise every time.
That's one of the reasons why I'm glad I don't have cable, or else my TV would be on Law and Order all the time.
This isn't even cable. This is like I'm using Sling. You know, I'm trying to see some. I want something to have on, but I also don't. I don't want to have to focus and know the mythology. Blah 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 blah. I just want to have something on I can just enjoy, and it's done by within an hour. Law and Order is perfect for that. It's absolutely perfect, and especially if it's SVU. Oh my God, I could watch SVU all day. It's a problem.
One would say it's actually a better show than the original.
I would agree with you. I think especially the Stabler and Benson years. Those are the best years. Because Stabler, his name is so ironic because he's not at all stable.
He's on the verge of killing somebody at any given moment.
He is. Every time he questions somebody, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. But these days we've got Yellowstone, Star Wars, Marvel, Witcher, and on and on and on and on and on. So what shows are you watching these days as they bump around from version to version? Are there any that you're really sticking with, Troy?
Sorry, say that one more time.
These days we've got Yellowstone, Star Wars, Marvel, Witcher. John, are you laughing? Because he obviously wasn't paying any attention whatsoever.
I was half paying attention. And I was like, "You want me to stick with Yellowstone?" Is that what you said?
No. What show?
I was half paying attention. How dare you?
What shows are you watching? What franchises are you watching today? There you go. There's the question.
Star Wars is the only one, I think.
And are you actually keeping up with all of them?
Yes, I am actually. I suffered through Boba Fett, and I did that mostly because I was actually on my bike, and I was using a program called Zwift, so I could watch it like while I biked. That was the only way I got through Boba Fett. I wasn't going to sit down and watch it straight up. But yeah, I've watched everything Star Wars. And everything Star Trek, for
I was about to say, and everything Star Trek.
Yeah.
Which one do you think is holding up better across the board of those two? Star Trek, Star Wars.
See, if I said Star Trek, the loyal Star Trek fans would come to my house and egg it because they don't feel the new Trek is really Trek.
It's your opinion. Who cares what they think?
I personally like the new Trek. I like that Discovery is sitting 3,000 in the year 3,000 plus post the time war that happens in the early 3000s. I like Strange New Worlds and having a original series like show that invites people in of all ages and all walks so they can enjoy Trek for what Trek is supposed to be. So I think Trek is doing better. The musical episode I'm just hearing rave reviews about just crushed it. Said it's the best one since Buffy. Wars, I think, you have to like certain parts of the Wars universe. And if there's those parts that you like a lot of people are interested in Mon Mothma's story. Those people are going to love Andor. If you have no idea who Mon Mothma is, Andor is going to put you to sleep. So I think there's hit or miss. The Marvel stuff, I watched WandaVision, and WandaVision was great. But once I got WandaVision and Doctor Strange, like no other TV show has hit the same way Wanda did, in my opinion. Wanda was different and unique. that it made moving to the TV format better, or I just couldn't see the vision for Phase 4 at all after watching the Phase 4 movies.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more on that, because WandaVision I finished, Falcon and the Winter Soldier I finished, I think She-Hulk I eventually finished, but those were half hours, so it made it a little easier, and Loki I finished. And the only one that I really enjoyed was Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision. The rest of them, I haven't even watched Secret Invasion. I haven't watched, if there's other ones, I'm sure that there are a bunch of them. I didn't finish Moon Knight, and I love Oscar Isaac. I just stopped caring about the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're just...
I needed to know like what tied to what, and I could look that up on the internet for 2 seconds rather than 7 hours.
I'm not even going to do that. If they don't explain it in the movie, then that's on them. I'm done caring. I shouldn't have to watch this much.
I think out of all of them, I've watched all the Marvel ones that are there, but I haven't. I'm to a point where I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to pick and choose the ones I want to watch, because I'm not going to watch Loki season 2 because I didn't get into Loki season 1
Same
much as everyone else. I enjoyed She-Hulk a lot. My favorite of the Marvel shows happens to be Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I did watch Hawkeye. That's there you go, and I did like that one a lot. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, of those two, I don't know which one's my favorite. I love them equally, and I think those two were very good television shows. Even subtracting the Marvel Universe out of it, I don't know if I can continue going with the effort with a lot of the Marvel. Star Wars, on the other hand, I feel like they're just treading water until they can get their hands onto something cohesive that they can work with. I'm hoping that Ahsoka is going to be that thing that they can start creating a nice, creative, cohesive world about it, and
Ahsoka?
subtract Ahsoka. And start pulling away from the original characters to new characters, but be able to tell a lot of other stories besides the original character stories. Obi-Wan was okay. I thought Book of Boba Fett, there's no secret that I did not like that. I think Mandalorian season 1 and season 2 were pretty great. Season 3, maybe not so much.
Yeah, season 3 could have been a 2-hour movie.
Right. It really could have been.
I haven't even finished season 3. Honestly,
there's
stopped caring.
Not a lot of good reason to do that.
Didn't like Andor. Didn't like Boba Fett. Mandalorian season 3 is just kind of like, eh. And then what was the other one?
Obi-Wan.
Didn't like Obi-Wan. Didn't like Obi-Wan at all. And
right. I liked Obi-Wan. I thought Ewan McGregor, I'd watch Ewan McGregor play Obi-Wan in an extended version for a long period of time. So I'm hoping that Ahsoka does well, that Ahsoka and Obi-Wan cross paths.
I liked Obi-Wan with little Leia. Like, the chemistry was fun. I just didn't care about any of the enemies or what he was doing. Like, I just didn't like any of the storyline.
I think you like those more though. Like, this is part of the problem with Star Wars and even Star Trek to a degree.
I'd rather watch a movie.
Is that you have, and Marvel definitely has this problem, is that you have to like know the history of the characters that are coming into Obi-Wan by watching Clone Wars and all the other stuff, and those were cartoons, which were much more like
it's not
the
fair.
Kids were watching it, but the adults weren't watching it. So if you don't have that history, it makes it harder to jump in. Like at this point, I'm sure Hawkeye is amazing, but because I don't need Hawkeye's information to enjoy the rest of MCU going forward, it's going to probably be years before I go and watch Hawkeye.
But isn't that a problem with them? Like, that's their problem to make that more accessible. Because I'm not going to go and watch Clone Wars ever. I don't care. And I shouldn't have to get what the fuck is going on with Obi-Wan, because I already know the character very well from the movies. So there you go. Tell a story that makes sense to the people that already know the character. And honestly, I followed everything that happened in that show. I just didn't care about it.
We're getting a little bit off topic because we're going on to the whole the whole problem of Disney. But I think we talked about this when we initially started hearing about Marvel going to television and bringing, and extending their world into television shows. I don't like the idea of homework to be able to enjoy movies.
Yeah,
I don't think we should have to watch homework to enjoy the movies moving forward, and being trapped onto a service just so that I can understand what's going on with the movies is kind of asinine, and it's literally a problem to me because I don't see how Loki affects the universe, because it shouldn't be affecting the universe in any way, shape, or form,
because he's dead.
Right, because he's dead. So as I mentioned, I like or I love Falcon and Winter Soldier. I like Hawkeye. I like She-Hulk. But What If is something that I think is great that they've done, because that's the one thing where you can get me to if the next time they do another What If, I'll show up for that, because I think those are great ideas on how to play with characters in your universe
or in other universes. In
okay, yeah, in the multiverse, which I'm getting exhausted by everything having a multiverse now.
I think that the difference that we're talking about, though, in terms of franchise television, it's a matter of who does it in a way that makes it, what's the word, approachable or acceptable. So, great example, Strange New World, season 2, episode 7 or 8, I think it was the crossover episode with Lower Decks. You did not have to see Lower Decks to enjoy that episode of Strange New Worlds. You might have read about the fact that it was a crossover episode, or you did not. And whether you knew about it or didn't know about it, the episode stands alone. Mm-hmm. Grey's Anatomy does this a lot with Station 19. Like, you know that they're going to have a 2-hour event on television on ABC. I don't watch it on ABC. I watch it on streaming the next day. So when I sit down and watch Grey's Anatomy and the Station 19 characters pop up, I'm like, oh, I know they work for Station 19, but I don't need to see Station 19 to enjoy that episode of Grey's Anatomy. So you can build out your universes and do the crossovers, but each show has to stand on its own legs without the other shows.
Absolutely.
My opinion.
And I think that's why, in the answer to the question, which shows am I watching? It's surprising to me how much I enjoy the Yellowstone prequels, like that franchise. I don't like Yellowstone. Like, I don't even enjoy the show that started all of this stuff. I just find it to be Dallas for modern era, and it's just not for me. But man, I love 1883 is one of my favorite shows of the last few years. And 1923, I love that show. And I just will watch basically any spinoff from that world now at this point. The Taylor Sheridan universe is basically what it is. And I love everything else. Now, why I don't like Yellowstone, I don't know. I honestly couldn't pinpoint it. I think it's just because it's a little too Dynasty or Dallas for me. Yeah, I love Costner. I just, for whatever reason, it doesn't work for me. But all the prequel stuff and all the franchise stuff is really, really like doing wonders. I love that show, those shows. So it's crazy to me that I just don't like the flagship. It's kind of like I love all the Star Treks except the original. That would be a weird thing to say, wouldn't it?
No, because that's kind of how I was. I don't really like the original series.
Okay, well, maybe it's like Star Trek then for you.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like the original Star Trek? Shame on you.
It's not that I don't like it. It's that when I think about Star Trek, I immediately go to TNG, DS9, Voyager. Those were
your era.
Formidable years of Star Trek.
Sure.
Were those 21 years of Star Trek. It's a lot of Star Trek now you think about it in that regard. Granted, DS9 overlapped, so it wasn't an actual 21 years, but
I mean, it just sounds like a long time before you had sex is what it sounds like.
But great stories. Oh my gosh. Dude, nerds have hot sex. You shut up.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Just look at John.
Wait. What? What? Nerds have hot sex. That's a hot take if I ever heard one.
I'd be surprised. The more jock alpha male
speak algorithms to me. Solve that algebra problem. Relativity.
Sex is just 1 0 1 0 1 0.
1 1 1 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1 1 0. You can't do 1 0 1 0 1 0 because you lose it. All right, I'm out of here.
Wow. All right. Are there any shows that haven't gone down this path that you think would be fascinating to follow, and how would you want it done? So each of us, give your examples of what you would like to see for a franchise.
Oh, that was easy. It was Alias. Like Alias had a whole.
Is it too late though? Is it too late?
Well, no, they had. Well, now it'd be too late. But I mean, at the time, you had all the different SD cells and the 12, and you can have totally different shows for each one of the 12. I think you could have built something out huge there, which would have been amazing. I also think Hijack and Rabbit Hole, like I was talking about, like Hijack, doesn't need a second season, but there's things in Hijack that could make a whole different concept for a second show or a second season.
An anthology series as opposed
to. And I would say that Hijack and Rabbit Hole, based on what happens in Hijack and Rabbit Hole could actually be in the same universe.
Oh, don't get me excited thinking Idris and Kiefer are going to run into each other, because that would be an awesome show.
I'm just saying.
I'd watch that.
I mean, you finished Hijack. Well, you didn't see Rabbit Hole though, John, did you?
I did not see Rabbit Hole. However, I just watched They Clone Tyrone. So if it's Kiefer, the Hijack and They Clone Tyrone would be fun.
Is Kiefer in They Clone Tyrone?
Oh, yeah.
Is it? All right. And Jamie Foxx is on that too. I want to check that out.
Jamie Foxx is in it too. I watched it last night. It was pretty good.
What about you, John? Anything that you'd like to see franchised?
I like to see The Expanse franchised out because I think that world is interesting, and the way that you can, the way you can take that in how many different directions would be a lot of fun. And I just like the difference in what they're doing with space and the way they do space battles and whatnot. So there's a lot they can possibly do with The Expanse that I think would be great. Stranger Things, Aaron just mentioned that they are getting franchised out. I did not know that, but
they haven't explained how they're going to do it, but they are franchising it out.
Yeah. That seems weird to me.
Why?
The Expanse I could see because you can, I'm just thinking what I know of The Expanse, you could put Firefly and The Expanse together and it would actually work.
No, it wouldn't. But you could,
and you didn't know that I think we talked about it on the show. I thought, but
I probably forgot about it because I didn't need the information. But they can do a lot of great things with Stranger Things, where you have a secret door opening to a secret world that is you can do so many things with that. That you can do with other characters and how people who don't have powers dealt with it in other
You've
parts of the country.
You've got a whole universe that we've only seen just the kids interact with. So I mean, there's a lot of things they can do with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
No one wants to see the adults. Come on.
No, but I'm saying you could follow kids in other places. You could follow the other. What was that other kid that was with 11? The mind kid.
8.
Yeah,
oh, 8.
Was it 8? Yeah.
Yeah.
You could do that. You could maybe some other kids or some other people come in contact with things that have been released from the other world. I mean, there's a lot of that. The Upside Down, there's a lot of that.
They could do a whole werewolf season where they think it's a werewolf, but it turns out to be something else.
It turns out to be Eddie because he died in the Upside Down and he came back to life as a creature.
We can get the Eddie prequel.
We don't need an Eddie prequel, but I would like to. I want
to know how Eddie became Eddie.
I don't need that, but I
need
want.
that. I'm guessing Metallica is how he got there. But.
Right. But I'm gonna miss Eddie in the next season. We only had him for one season. I'm like, God damn it.
Okay, it's Stranger Things. Anything else?
No, those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head.
I would love to see, not because I'm trying to get Troy to watch it, but I would love to see a Justified spinoff with Gutterson and Brooks, the other agents that were in Raylan's office.
Have a Justified spinoff?
No, that's the same character moving to a different city. This is it's like a continuation of the same character. I want to see a legit Justified spinoff with Gutterson and Brooks. They are the other agents he worked with in the main show, and just follow them hunting down fugitives in Harlan every week. I just think that would be fun to watch. And even Boyd Crowder, who is a character you would know, Troy, if you ever watched Justified. I would just like to see him, try to go righteous, but can't avoid that sweet temptation of criminal activity and monologues. I think that would be amazing to watch. I would like to see Ozark franchise and maybe follow the kids as they go off on their own and become like a brother and sister criminal conspiracy.
Or the other side of the coin, what was happening in Mexico the whole time while they were up in Missouri.
Could be. I'd follow that. But I feel like I've got Narcos if I need that. I mean, Ozark, I just like that family dynamic and trying to navigate those kinds of criminal waters. And because they're young and they were kind of reluctant, but then found themselves knee deep in it, I think that would be really interesting to watch as they go off and maybe create their own criminal enterprise of sorts.
You probably have to recast though. The kids weren't.
The daughter was really. I thought they were both really good. I liked them.
They were okay.
I liked them.
You really killed the franchise though. Option when you killed part of that show.
You might be able to. I love Reacher. I would be interested to see if Conklin and Finley could stand their own spinoff.
Yes.
Would you like that?
Oh yeah.
I think that could be fun. I don't know how well it would work without Reacher in it, but I think it could be done.
I think just focusing on Conklin would be a good step in the right direction.
He's a great character. And lastly, Cobra Kai, following Johnny and Miguel as they kung fu their ass around the world, just getting into shit. I think I would love to. I don't want to watch the karate training and all that. I want to watch Johnny and Miguel just traveling the country, getting into all kinds of crazy issues. And of course, there's going to be a karate fight every episode or two. because that's what they do. Kind of like,
I guess,
The Fugitive.
We're never going to get the final season now because of the strike, aren't we?
Well, we're going to get it.
Not for a long time.
Do you really think they take that long to write those? I mean, have you watched an episode?
I did. I watched them all in one day.
I'm just
They're
saying.
amazing.
I don't think they're that deep. Hoo-ah.
I mean, that's good. I guess that's considered a franchise now.
Well, I mean, I guess that one, it's probably not fair because I guess it already
Because you had the
is.
original movies, then you had
The
the next
movie.
Karate Kid, and then you had the rebooted Karate Kid, and then you had the...
But the TV
TV show.
version is kind of new in how that worked. So I don't know. If it counts, then, use it. If it doesn't, then ignore what I said.
Because it's pulling from the original source
Sure.
in all the seasons.
I guess. It has a built-in thing. But I would like to see that franchise continue then. And very much have those two just running around the world doing stupid stuff.
That feels like it'd be a freeform show at that point. You got Miguel and Peyton List, and
No, I wouldn't want that. I just want Johnny Miguel. I just want those two literally going like Fugitive and Incredible Hulk style from town to town, getting like solving problems. Or maybe they go in a new place every season or something, and they just get into shit. I think it would be fun seeing those two bounce off each other, and then people that they come in contact with, Johnny's attitude, and Miguel trying to people please, and all. I think that would be a fun contrast to spin off and just watch those two. I don't need Macchio anymore. I don't need Peyton List anymore. I just want those two. Maybe Ralph Macchio's wife could go with, because I think that would be fun. Johnny steals his wife, basically sweeps Ralph
that's not fair
Macchio's
to
leg.
Miguel's mom, though.
That's true. Oh well. Hey, share your thoughts on this episode or anything else in our Facebook group or on X at Buy Popcorn, and our site is thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And you can rate and subscribe on your preferred podcast app. Our website, of course, is thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Okay, we got 3 reviews that we're going to tackle. Bottoms, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and Gran Turismo. Now, we're going to start with Bottoms. That was actually from our South by Southwest episode. Amanda and I got to catch it. So here's that first review, which is coming out August 25th. It's definitely worth a look. So here's the review of Bottoms. And it follows 2 unpopular girls in their senior year who start a fight club to try and impress and hook up with cheerleaders. It stars Rachel Sennott, Ayo Edebri, Ruby Cruz, Havana Rose Liu, and many more. So, Amanda, Bottoms. It's basically an 80s sex comedy, except it's for the queer generation.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much representation, and I hate to phrase it like that right off the bat, but like
it should get praised. They don't make it a message movie. It's just a movie, and they happen to be gay.
Right. Yeah. And what I love about it is that there's someone for you to connect or identify or laugh about because of your own personal experiences for every single person. So even if you're not queer, like you're still going to have a good time. You're still going to have fun. It's not about, it's not a preachy movie about that. It's a real, raw, funny, hilarious, absurd comedy. And it's also about, friendship and those relationships. And it's about, taking risks, and it's about love, and it's about so many things. And I don't want to say that it's in the traditional vein of a coming of age tale. It has some of those elements to still draw those in who are attached to those types of stories like myself, but also I think not deter people who are tired of coming of age stories like you.
Yeah, I don't like coming of age stories. I'll be honest. I'll tell you. Unless you got a new take on it, I get it. We've all come of age. No, this is just batshit insane is what most of it is. I mean, it's got blood everywhere. There are broken bones. There are wounds. There are mortal wounds in this sex comedy, and it's hilarious. Like throughout, there are sex toys. It's very much American Pie, but also a little bit of Fight Club. I don't really know what was happening, like when they were writing this, going, how bonkers do we want to go? Like, do we want to make just the ultimate gay Fight Club movie? And they decided to go for it. Let's have sex jokes. Let's have wounds, mortal wounds. Let's do that. Let's get blood.
Wounds. They do get bloody, and
they
don't hold back. The jokes they don't hold back from, the fight scenes they don't hold back from. They have so much fun with it. Not to mention the Fight Club school champion, liaison, whatever you want to call him, is Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, God.
Who is absolutely hilarious.
Marshawn Lynch should be an actor in more movies immediately. Immediately. He's hilarious.
It was amazing. Like, truly, I think there were a lot of people who were like, what the hell is he doing here? And you don't realize how much of a role he's going to play. Like, at first, I was like, oh, we're going to get a glimpse of him. Ha, ha, ha. Move on. No, he actually has a real part to play in this film. And what I love about it is how absolutely ludicrous every single event in this story is, but how somehow it's still connected to a real life high school experience in some way, like something that we can still connect to.
And the guys are idiots. Just idiots.
Isn't that a nice, fun twist? I mean, you always have the dumb bimbo blondes.
Yep. The guys are the bimbos in this one. And I think that's hysterical. I think it's hysterical.
If we could have Chris Hemsworth play in this, we would be set.
He's a little too old.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. College, the sequel.
Yeah, but Rachel and Ayo are wonderful. They are absolutely wonderful. They are two best friends, and they just walk in lockstep. They're doing this for very different motives. One of them happens to love a girl. The other one just wants to get laid a lot. So it's your typical sex comedy. I mean, it's your typical sex comedy.
Well, if the full price of admission is $10, what did you give Bottoms?
I give Bottoms $7.50. What about you?
I'm not too far off. I gave it $8.50. I had so much fun with it, and I cannot wait to watch it again.
Excellent. Okay, now John is with me for the next two. You ready, John?
I'm ready, pal.
Okay. Okay. Well, I caught The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which should have been probably called, Dracula, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, so people knew it was about Dracula, because if you didn't know, it's basically from a small passage that's buried in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Captain's Log. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about.
But you know what? Most people probably don't know that. They have no idea it's Dracula.
Well, I mean, that's probably why they just called it Last Voyage of Demeter. But then in the trailers show giant bat-winged Dracula running around killing people.
No, it just shows a creature, man. Like, there's no indication. I think maybe in one of the trailers she does say Dracula, but I just feel like if you aren't really paying attention, you might have no idea. And if you're going to sell a movie, I feel like, kind of like with Renfield, put Dracula in the title. People are dumb. They want to be fed sometimes.
Okay.
They want to suck your blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, well, anyway, in that book, Bram Stoker's Dracula, lies a captain's log detailing the infamous ships, the Demeter, the tragic, ill-fated final voyage transporting mysterious cargo from Transylvania to England. Captain Elliot's played by Liam Cunningham, Davos from Game of Thrones. He leads a small crew on what seems like a simple task of point A to point B. Joining him are his grandson, Toby, who's played by Woody Norman, who was in Cobweb, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. That is now on demand, I believe. That's a must-see for Halloween, I believe. So keep an eye out for Cobweb. His first mate, Wojciech, played by Polka Dot Man, David Dastmalchian, a crew of sailors and hired hands, and a mysterious doctor named Clemens, who's played by Corey Hawkins, who's desperate to return to England. Along the way, Clemens takes the lead after he stumbles upon a dying stowaway named Anna, and the trip begins to take a turn. Very quickly, the livestock on the ship are viciously slaughtered. Shortly thereafter, a disappearance occurs. It doesn't take long before the very superstitious crew becomes terrified that there is an unseen evil on board. And finally, Anna explains her true purpose on this voyage, as well as what lives amongst the cargo. A beast with an insatiable appetite for, blood. One who will not rest until his hunger is fulfilled, even if it costs the life of every man, woman, and child on the ship. That's The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
That sounds like it's a pretty interesting movie. But you know what, Aaron, I know you went into this knowing that it's a Dracula story. So because the movie premise is something about a story that's been hinted at in other iterations of the Dracula story. If you read Stoker's book, it's a small passage. So you knowing what it is, did you think that going into this movie was going to work, or because more or less we already know how it ends, right?
Well, yeah, I guess that's the one hiccup, right? Because you do know exactly how it's going to end, because Dracula's going to make it. Shh. Yeah. And I knew that going in. I knew that was going to be a factor. I was a little curious how they were going to make this work. I figured they were going to play with it because there's really not much in there to give you too many details. So there's a lot that they can make happen. And they kind of start, it's almost like, the TV. We were talking about TV in this episode. It's almost like, those TV episodes where it's like 48 hours earlier. That's how it starts. It starts with what happens at the end, and then it kind of goes back to a few days earlier, or a few weeks earlier, months earlier, whatever the hell the number was, to kind of take you back to the beginning of the voyage and how we got to where we got to. So it works. I don't like that particular way to do things. I don't like that version of a storyline. I prefer to play it straightforward. I just don't think it's a movie that really can surprise me too much because I do know how it ends, but there's a lot they can do in the middle, and there's stuff that they do try to do.
Yeah. So Andre Overdal is as the director here. He's brought us stories like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and a movie that I know is a very effective scary movie, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Mm-hmm. How would you rate the effectiveness of the scare here?
He does a wonderful job creating atmosphere. There is a very gothic feel to the film. In terms of production, he really has a strong grasp on what would sink people into the atmosphere. And also the creature effects are pretty solid mostly across the board. Like Dracula as this beast is quick, he's vicious, he's insightful, he's thoughtful, he plans, you know what I mean? In terms of very careful in terms of what he's accomplishing. But when the kills happen, they are very sadistic and vicious, and they waste no time getting to the victims.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead and talk to me about the cast here. How do you feel about it?
They're all fine.
They're all fine?
There you go.
Okay.
Yep. Nobody stands out. I like Corey Hawkins. He's an actor that's done numerous things. Straight Outta Compton. He was in 24 Legacy. He's done a lot of stuff. He's a very solid actor. Liam Cunningham doesn't ever go wrong as far as I'm concerned. He's a wonderful actor. The rest of them are kind of plug and play for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all going to die anyways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the characters they're given nothing to do. They're basically, essentially the plot is The Thing or Alien, right? Bunch of people trapped on a place with a monster, and they have to figure out how to do it. But unlike those films, like the characters outside of Corey Hawkins and Liam Cunningham, even Anna doesn't really get a whole lot of depth. They try to, but it doesn't work that well. But the other crew members are just who's going to die first. We're just playing that game.
All right. Well, you know what? On the ticket price scale, how much money would you spend on this flick?
My review on the website at thehollywoodoutsider.com has it at 5. I think it's an intriguing idea, very well crafted and atmospheric. It's a script that unfortunately it makes the characters seem very dim-witted, just very dumb. Because I can't make this up. They realize they're on boat with a beast pretty early on. There's even a moment where they, witness sunshine is actually very effective in terms of what it can do to said beast, yet they continuously only hunt for this thing at night. It's idiotic. That's probably the biggest hindrance. And I know some people, well, yeah, but the atmosphere and this, and it's cool, and the effects and the creature effect. Yeah, that's great, but the story is stupid. So the fact that nobody has any sense, even when you have a woman that's literally telling you, this dude's Dracula, I think he's, Dracula, even though it's in the trailer, I'm not spoiling anything. Even though you have that, and even though you witness people witnessing what sunlight can do to someone who might be afflicted here, why would you continue to only chase this thing at night? Why would you continuously play into that creature's domain? It just makes no sense to me, even especially from, these are sailors. They've been doing this their whole lives. I know they're superstitious, but they have eyes, right? And I'm sure they have to adjust course whenever there's a storm, but apparently they don't. When there's a storm, they just drive right through it because they don't pay attention to whatever that lightning is. Just go right through it. Don't pay any attention to it. So $5 because of idiots.
All right. $5 because of idiots. I'll take it.
Okay. The next one is Gran Turismo, which, if you didn't know, is based on the true story of Jan Mardenborough, Gran Turismo follows a group of gamers who are selected by Nissan to compete for a chance to race for reals. Gran Turismo is that game that was created by PlayStation to essentially put drivers into the cockpit, and Nissan's marketing master, Danny Moore, it was played by Orlando Bloom here, believes if he can take these young geniuses and make one of them a true race car driver, they will inspire millions more to buy Nissan cars. So he recruits a master race engineer and Jack Salters, played by David Harbour, to help get his gamers ready. And then we follow Jan, who is played by Archie Madekwe, and he learns to compete in a much harsher environment than he ever expected. Oh, and his dad is played by Jimon Hansu, and he does not approve. P.S. His mom is also played by Jerry Horner, a.k.a. Miss Hollywell, a.k.a. Ginger Spice. That's a true story.
All right, so you're talking about Gran Turismo here, which is probably the very first video game adaptation movie that also happens to be a true story. So all that said, what kind of storytelling?
Super Mario was true. That shit happened. Like, especially the Bob Hoskins version. Oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
that was real.
Right. Okay. So anyhow, like the storytelling, how does it work here?
It's interesting. It is very paint by numbers in terms of, I feel like if you've seen any sports movie, you probably know the entire story.
Right.
And I still enjoyed it. I really did. I still found myself interested. The performances really carry it. Archie, who played John, like I said, is a, well, I don't know if I said it, but he's a talented young actor who's really coming into his own. And I love Hansu. He's an actor that can get, he's a great actor who's very underappreciated in Hollywood, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? Isn't he?
Yeah.
He has several moments, and they even have a moment that I know is predictable as hell, and I loved it, and he sold every ounce of it, like just had me weeping. So, I'm a fan of the performances and the story. Even though it's pretty by the numbers, I really enjoyed it.
So who would you say your standout for the performances?
David Harbour.
Okay.
Is awesome.
Duh.
Well, yeah, I know he's always awesome, but here, he's playing, the crusty old leader guy. I used to do it. Now I got to teach this young buck how to do it. And this young buck doesn't know what he's doing and blah, 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 blah. Character we've seen 1,000 times. I just feel like Harbour really embraces it and kind of makes it his own, which is hard to do with a character I've seen, over and over and over again. Orlando Bloom doesn't get much to do. I really don't. He's kind of bland, honestly.
No surprise.
No, yeah. Harbour really forms a bond, and I really, really believe him as he goes. And I really believe that he's won over by this kid. It's not so much, it was in the script, I got to like this kid eventually. He really plays it up that he's won over by him.
That's pretty cool. You mentioned David Harbour, and one of the things that I think about is the fact that he was on a Law and Order episode, and he was one of the villains in a Law and Order episode, and he chewed on the scenery so well. He was so good to watch. And then when he shows up in Equalizer, the first movie, he's even holding his own on screen with Denzel. So that's, I think, and that was before he's David Harbour that we know now.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty great. Okay. So moving right along, this is directed by Neil Blomkamp, who has brought us several movies like District 9, Elysium, Chappie, I've heard it both ways.
Nope, just the long way.
All the movies, these big movies have huge sci-fi twists to them, and their visuals are massive. So how does that kind of translate into something that's much more grounded in some sort of reality here?
Well, as you know, Neil Blomkamp I'm a big fan. One of the first directors I ever met, and in person, and wonderful guy. I met him with District 9 when he was doing the circuit, him and Shartel
Here,
Copley.
let me pick that name drop up for you.
And Shartel Copley. There's two names. Had a cigarette with him. True story. So that back when I smoked, I don't do that anymore. But Neil Blomkamp is a director that I've rooted for a long time. And I feel like District 9, great film. One of the best science fiction films of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Elysium, not so much. Had some pluses to it, and I enjoyed it overall. But man, it was after
one of the
that.
Most okay.
yeah, it was more okay than wonderful. And Chappie sucked. I tried so hard to love that. I think there was a great idea in there. I think his casting ruined that for him. I really, really do. He had Just horrible choice with casting. I like a lot of it. I just, the leads are hard to watch.
That's the Diane Toward band, isn't it?
That's a Short Circuit wannabe, basically.
Yeah. But the leads weren't the leads also the two lead singers from Diane Toward the Crazy South.
Yeah.
That's hard to watch.
Yeah, great actors.
No.
So I pulled for him, and I think he's always been a very strong visual director. Apparently, he's just struggled with finding the right nuts and bolts to continue his momentum here,
so to speak.
Yeah. Here the racing scenes. I'm not a big racing fan. I don't care about racing. It's a giant circle. That's what I look at. I'm like, wow, that went in a circle over and over again. I took my dad to this one. I wanted to go with my dad. My dad's a huge racing fan, and his eyes lit up every time a car was on screen. Just the way that they shot it really makes you feel like you're in the cockpit, like you're in the car. And there's even one moment that I won't spoil anything, but there's a moment where a car kind of almost, I think it's in the trailer, but it's basically a car goes upright. That's all I'll say. And then what happens after that is phenomenal. Like that was a scene where I felt every ounce of everything that happened in that scene. And that was incredible for me because I normally don't care about racing. I've seen all these racing movies and I'm just like, yeah. Ford versus Ferrari is maybe the one exception, but that's because I loved the people more than I liked the racing. I didn't care about the racing. I just loved Christian Bale and Matt Damon. This, I was really energized by the racing scenes. I really felt like I was in it. The cars were amazing. I felt like I could keep up. I don't think they were getting too complicated with it. They did a really nice job of kind of creating this immersion for when Jan's in a race car, he sees it kind of as a gamer, and it kind of puts you into his mindset as he's driving and also into the mindset of a race car driver who's driving. So it's interesting. And I think it really works. And Neil Blomkamp really captures that. This is probably the most exciting film he's done since District 9 for sure.
I get pretty excited when I go upright too. What do you give this?
$10 full price of admission. I give this one $6.50. I enjoyed it. Very paint by numbers, but it's very entertaining.
That sounds pretty good. All right. Well, thank you very much, Aaron.
Okay. Now let's move on. Now let's play a game called Oh No! This is where each of us shares our worst hot take or social media comment, tweet, post, whatever, related to social media they've seen as of late. Basically, this is just something that just drives us nuts. Something fun to talk about. So, John, what do you got? What's your ho no?
My first one has to do with the differences between animation and live action. So, unpopular opinion, making live action versions of cartoons only further reinforces that animation is a lesser art form in comparison to live action, even though these live action films usually are usually like 90% CGI anyways.
So you like that 100% or don't like it?
In the case of Lion King?
Well, I like it in the sense of it's totally false. The person saying it more in the sense of irony, because a lot of these live action movies aren't doing nearly as well as the originals, and they don't have the same sort of love and feel that the originals do. But there's the idea of how the animation is just a lesser art form that I don't agree with whatsoever, and I think that's where he's going with. It's more of a sarcastic feel to it.
I mean, they're different versions of art, right?
They are different versions of art.
So they're okay. And if you don't like them, don't watch them.
Well, I watch them because I watch them, but sometimes, not all the time, but still, I mean...
I like The Lion King.
You're a monster.
Why is that a monster? It was super
popular.
Both
versions were good.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I like both of them. Neither one of them did what they should have done, which is drop the lion when it was a cub, like hanging over that cliff. That would have made it a totally different movie. Would have made it different, unique.
Good morning. Friendly reminder that L3 from Solo is the worst Star Wars character and far worse than anyone from the prequel or sequel trilogy. I agree with that 100%.
Who is?
L3?
I disagree with that 100%.
Who's L3?
L3 was the robot. See, that's how bad she was. That's the robot voiced by Fleabag in...
Oh, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Yeah, I disagree with that. I'm with Troy on this one.
I agree with it wholeheartedly. I hated that character. I thought the character was dumb, and the only reason why they had the character in there was to explain why the computer on the Millennium Falcon was always kind of weird.
I don't like the way that it was written to fill in the backstory, but at the same time, the people tweeting about why they don't like it is a completely different conversation.
Was it a woke thing?
It was totally a woke thing.
Oh my God.
Well, my problem isn't the woke thing. My problem with her is just that she was annoying.
I'm just tired of that word.
I'm tired of the word,
but
too.
It was awesome that she was able to be the one that calculated how to actually do the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
What do the go woke, go broke people say when Barbie has made like way over $1 billion? Does that still hold, or it only applies when it fits my narrative?
No, it's still true because we all went broke because we bought multiple tickets to the movie.
Leave it to Troy to actually find the real argument in that.
That's funny. All right, Troy, what do you got? I will also say Solo as a movie sucked, so who cares?
Right.
It's not awful.
It's not good.
It's not awful.
It's one that could have gone somewhere really awesome if they would have kept
but
going.
it didn't. Also, It has
most bad movies could have went somewhere good if they hadn't gone where they went.
Because I'm totally watching an Emilia Clarke, Darth Maul, Star Wars.
Right.
She was
100%.
great. She was great.
The worst explanation as to why he's Han Solo ever.
Well, yes. We just forget that part happened in the movie.
Someone wrote that.
Woody Harrelson again, by the way.
That. What's that?
Woody Harrelson in that movie.
Yeah, there you go.
We talked about him last week.
Yeah. You know what I would have liked would be that to see the Lloyd and Miller version of Solo. I wish we could have seen whatever that version was. I think that might have been an awesome movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe they'll do it eventually at some point because they steal from things that
they
actually happened, that were written,
that
weren't actually part of the universe, but then say they're part of the universe.
I have no idea what he's saying anymore, Aaron.
I don't either. Troy, go ahead. Hot take. What do you got?
I
Your worst hot
that
take.
one totally, John. Yeah, when they steal from the extended universe because they call it that it's not actually part of Star Wars, but then make it part of Star Wars.
Oh, right. Okay, thanks. Okay,
Yeah.
You've connected the dots for me. I appreciate it. You've calculated the Kessel Run as I need to for me to understand what's happening.
Totally glad I was a.
Can you fire up this fucking ship and move forward? Can we do that? Let's go.
No. I just had one. They're talking about a constitutional amendment that's going to require citizens 18 to 24 to have to pass a civics test in order to vote. It's basically the same test that immigrants need to take in order to become naturalized U.S. citizens. And the Law Boy said, I know it's an unpopular on the left, but I agree that you should have to pass a civics test in order to vote. It should consist of one question: who won the 2020 presidential election? And the answer is, it doesn't matter because nobody wins in that election.
Well, it does matter. Biden did win. And it was, and Yahoo knew
on
it.
paper, Biden won the popular vote, and
in the voting machines everywhere, he won.
Okay,
it's just one.
Can we not?
I'm just saying, society as a whole did not win.
Can we not, please?
How many indictments do we need?
Can we not? Let's not do this.
Whether Trump or Biden.
Let's not do this.
Okay, fine. Fine, Dad.
Society is worse off either way.
Stop it.
Jesus. I will say, I got two of them. One, this gentleman, I'll just say his first name, Aziz, says, if you speak more than 4 languages, I'm sorry, but you're weird. What are you doing learning all these languages like you don't have a life? It's called being educated, dick. I don't even understand this as a point of view. Or
it's called I work for a global company and I'd like to talk to my customers in their actual language and in their own time zone. So it's helpful for them.
Not to mention people who speak multiple languages are generally more intelligent in a way because they have a different processing ability than most people who only speak one.
Mm-hmm. It's harder.
I can speak multiple languages. They're just not languages that involve speech. Like I can speak electricity and I can speak
Shut up,
code.
Troy.
Stop it.
Just stop it.
Stop.
You sound ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
Well, no, you just said that people that speak multiple languages are more intelligent. I would disagree with that.
Troy,
people
it's 1101110001100.
Okay, my other one, tying it back to
16.
movies and TV. Okay. The Independent said, going solo to the cinema isn't an act of self-love, no matter what the internet says. That's actually an article that they wrote, and that is
a bullshit statement.
That is an absolutely bullshit statement. I think that's one of the strongest things you can do as a person.
I went for 9 freaking hours.
I would say that it is probably one of the strongest things you can do as a person, because as a single person, I find the idea of going to the theater by myself annoying and sad. But when I was a married person, I went to the theater by myself a lot.
Why do you find it annoying and sad? Let's dive into this. Why do you find it annoying and sad? You shouldn't.
I don't know. I just do. I just feel.
You think it means like you're not doing something well in your life because you go to the theater alone?
If you go to the theater alone now, that means you can enjoy the art form and then run into a bunch of people that are in the lobby to talk to about what you just saw, and that may spark something.
Yeah, Troy, you're assuming that I am an extrovert like that, but I'm not.
I think it's, for me personally, I don't care if you're married or single, I don't care. To me, I think it's difficult for people to feel comfortable doing that in general, because many people feel like they're being judged or looked at because they're sitting by themselves. And I'm sure there are people that do that, but it's being comfortable in your own skin. It's a confidence thing. There's a lot of, and it's a weird thing, because I've actually thought about this probably more than I ever should. But when people go to a movie by themselves, that takes a certain level of confidence and self-belief to do so. And I think it's actually much harder than people give it credit for whatever reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's a stigma thing, because people think going to the movies is always a communal experience and whatnot. But I've gone to the movies by myself before, and you can feel that judgment, that eye of judgment looming over you. Sauron.
Maybe it's frugality. I'm going because I want to make sure I get the most maximum benefit out of my A-list membership, and I just don't have people that can come with me this week because they're tired of going to the movies all the time with me.
Well, but I think
maybe I got to do it for my job. I got to review this thing.
No. We're talking about people that don't have a mate. That's what he's talking about.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
And that's why it's so hard for him.
Right. So when as for, and I think there's a point to that though, because that you made that I think is pretty good, because when I had a partner and I went to the theater by myself, I didn't give a shit what people thought. I was just going to the movies, and I'm just going to enjoy myself and do something for me in that moment. But as I don't have a partner now, I feel the eyes of the judgment on me, and it feels weird to go to the movies by myself.
But in fact, you're more judging yourself than anybody in that room is, though, right?
Yeah, because nobody gives a shit about me.
Yeah, because they're all on their fucking phones rather than actually watching the movie or looking at you.
Troy, how do you do an improv class? You can't stay on the topic.
Right.
You just got to throw your joke in there. Pay attention. We're having a real conversation with John. We're trying to solve his life problems.
Right.
His life problems was he had confidence, but when he was married, and now he doesn't have confidence.
There. That's pretty quick to the point. Yeah.
Which means you had confidence, therefore you have confidence. Just go to the damn theater.
Do you ever think about doing this as a proof to yourself, like facing your fears kind of thing?
Yeah.
No, I don't ever think about it like that.
You should.
You should.
Do you have a parrot on your shoulder, Aaron?
Yes. And it's basically, quack, go to the fucking theater. Quack. Because here's what I would say.
Your theater is actually better than our theater.
Yes,
that's true.
We have a
out of it.
Very nice theater. And honestly, I think you'll have a much better time without Eli. So just go by yourself. Because Eli uses his phone in the movie theater, and it's rude.
So I say people use their phones, and I get yelled at. You're the one that makes fun of his friend.
I've never yelled
the cool
at
guy.
I think it's a horrible thing.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing.
You yelled at me because I tried to make a joke about people being on their phones and not paying attention to you.
No, that's just, we were in the middle of a different conversation, and you just made the joke. That's what I was yelling at you.
I was getting sad.
So you can't even pay attention to what I was yelling at you for.
Redirect because it was getting sad.
We're trying to solve John's problems and get him out there, get him to feel comfortable.
John's problem is I'm coming down with a cattle prod if he doesn't go to the damn theater.
Maybe I'd like that too much. I'd be like, go ahead. I'm not going to go to the theater. Go ahead. Hit me again.
Troy has a point. You might run into someone. I mean, they have a bar at your theater, right? Just go have a drink afterward or something.
There's no running into somebody. That whole meet cute bullshit doesn't happen.
You're right. Swipe left or swipe right is definitely a better way to meet
so much better.
I'm over that too.
Do they have a swipe up and down?
At least when you swipe left, swipe right, those people are taking their money and you get nothing out of it. At least if you swipe left, swipe right in the lobby at the theater, you still got a movie out of it. So
can I ask a question about that? I don't know. I haven't dated in a long time. Do you when you swipe left, swipe right, does somebody get like a report? Is there like a statistic like you were swiped no 15 times this week?
Depending on the apps, yes.
And how
Seriously?
much you pay for it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how much you pay for it.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, so you can sit there and find out how many people have swiped no on you. It gives you the impression, okay, well, they don't like my profile. I need to up my profile a little bit. Here, let me rent this Ferrari.
People are going to take away from it. My profile.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're definitely not going to take away the fact that nobody just likes them, or that there's a recent report that most women find 80% of men unattractive.
Let's use data to inform us on how to sell ourselves better, which is actually not actually selling yourself better because it's selling a fake version of yourself.
Right.
Hang on. I got a question
which is recruiting in HR, like 100%.
Sure.
Right.
80%. I'm coming back to this. Okay. So that women don't like 80% of men. So they don't like 80% of the men that are out there, or they don't like 80% of each man. Like they only like them for the top down.
80% of the men that are out there in the world, they do not find attractive. They only find the top 20% of men attractive.
Well, that's probably fair for everybody, right?
And it's not based on looks or money or...
No, it's based on looks.
It's based off of looks.
I mean, if they're swiping left or right, you're basing it, I guess, on the profile. But really, they're looking at them going, all right. Or no. Who wants those numbers? Do you get those numbers, John? Tell me you don't.
I just told you I deleted those apps.
Okay. But I'm saying, when you had those apps, did you get that report?
I got the report once, and I said, I'm not paying for this shit anymore.
That feels like it will do nothing for anyone's self-confidence whatsoever.
No.
That's why I'm not going to the movies by myself.
Oh, my God. Those two things are not connected. Okay.
They are totally different.
I say, anyone out there thinking about going to the movies by themselves, go. Do it. Push yourself. It's your reward. It's just like facing your fears. If you're scared of heights, jump out of a plane. Make sure you have a parachute, but jump out of a plane. Do stuff. Challenge yourself. Don't just sit there and relegate yourself to fear. That's what I say.
And if you're nervous about meeting people, John, just go at 9 a.m. with the crowd that's there, and
be yourself a nice octogenarian.
Those people have judged people their whole lives.
Yeah, find me a nice octogenarian to sit there. There's a nice octogenarian right across the street who loves to stop me every single time I'm out there walking my dogs.
Sweet. Make sure you get the handicap seat too, and you'll sit next to her.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna need that. Hey, how's yoga going?
How's yoga going? Well, I broke my hip last week. Aw, sorry, Maud. Or Mabel. All right, we're out. I got nothing else to talk about.
I think we've destroyed our reputation enough for one day.
All right, remember, the next time you head to a theater, by yourself or with friends, whatever, buy popcorn. If you see John, go sit next to him, though. Make it really awkward.
Or you can just sit on my lap.
And then you made it awkward. See, this is why you shouldn't be allowed out in public by yourself.
This is exactly right.
I understand. It's all coming together. Perfect. Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning entertainment podcast.
You weren't going to do that.
Well, God damn it, I was going to do it anyway, but never mind. All right. What? Are we doing chips now?
For old time's sake.
Listen, McCumber.